Hello and welcome everybody to week 4, day 4 of your Proving Grounds broadcast powered by Verizon. I'll be your host for the day, Kangas, as we get ready for Immortals Academy versus FlyQuest Academy on the Rift. And I'm joined by the lovely caster. But we got Joshi. Joshi, who are you casting with today? You have a co-caster?
It was supposed to be Mark. It's always been Mark this entire time.
Yeah, I'm seeing the schedule. Where's Rafa? Like seriously, where is he? Where's Rafa? I don't. Oh!
What's up?
What? Oh,
All right,
no.
Kangas. I got something to tell you. Check this out. You've been doing such a great job of hosting this entire spring split. But the thing is, you've never gotten a chance to cast at all. And we're in the best of 5s. This is do or die for a lot of these teams now in the lower bracket. And I feel like you deserve to at least cast one of them. And of course, me being a experienced host, I can take over. I can live up to the Kangas name, as I will take on the moniker Kaffa as your host.
Rafa, this is so much worse than I expected. I didn't know.
It's so much better.
Worse?
I didn't know what to expect coming in. It's just the mustache. Where's the rest of the beard,
What
man?
do you mean? Dude, you're literally...
He looks like El Jefe.
You literally
He's the
Braum,
boss.
Kangas. I took inspiration from your Braum cosplay, and I figured that the heart would be the strongest muscle on the broadcast.
Wow, this is a treat, everybody. The bald cap is.
You know, on the one hand, he looks like El
so
Jefe.
see-through.
On the other hand, he looks like El Cafeteria worker. So
I
we'll
did
get
not want to
somewhere
shave
in
my
between.
head. I was not willing to go that far.
Commit to the
I
bit,
wanted to commit to
Rafa.
the bit.
Come
I thought
on.
about it, but that was going to take a while to... I'm not good at buzz cuts, but it's okay. As your host, I will make sure that we are kicking everything into overdrive. Before we get into the rest of our little pre-show segments, we first want to continue our discussion of our most valuable prospect as we wind down our list of candidates. And although this following person did not make the final cut as our most valuable prospect, which we will reveal next week, we still want to give him an honorable mention. Check it out. When we were looking at potential prospects, we initially turned our attention toward those who consistently had moments of brilliance and demonstrated an aptness for the LCS stage. But we also considered those who displayed extraordinary growth within the 8 weeks of regular play, valuing their best days as a sign of what could be their potential down the road. This especially makes sense when looking at one of our honorable mentions in Yuji, the Mongolian solo queue prodigy for FlyQuest. Before debuting in Academy, Yuji had no prior competitive experience, and during the first 3 weeks of Academy play, it really showed. Yuji was struggling to adapt his strengths to a competitive team setting and finding confidence in his first few Academy games. Among all starting junglers, he was tied for lowest first blood percentage and ranked 2nd for lowest damage per minute. This all changed in week 4, when Yuji got to play Qiyana, a comfort pick which made use of his strengths as an assassin specialist and primary carry. After back-to-back wins on Qiyana, Yuji carried his newfound confidence and explosive playstyle onto his other picks. For the remainder of the split, he boasted the 2nd highest damage per minute, 3rd in first blood percentage, and even tied for 2nd highest jungle forward percentage at 24.8%. Yuji exemplifies the model of a prospect who may not be ready for the LCS stage tomorrow or even next split, but given his rapid growth, he could be one of the next LCS stars by 2024. Between the list of our candidates that we have shown so far, you get a glimpse of what has been our criteria looking into our most valuable prospects. So far, these have been all honorable mentions. It's not our final choice overall, which we will reveal next week. But for now, you're going to get to see that honorable mention we just witnessed in UG play later today as we take a look at the bracket for today and the rest of the Proving Grounds.
And I want to hop in on a quick point about Yuji as we're looking at the bracket too. When we look at most valuable prospect, we're looking over like a 2-year span, and the level of growth he's had already in just one split of Academy, yeah, he definitely deserves to be up there on the prospect list, Joshi. But as we bring our attention to the bracket here, of course, the 3-1 from Team Liquid Academy that happened just yesterday.
Are you?
Was sick. I'm
told you,
defaulting back to hosting, man. It's so hard. It's so hard.
Look, it's okay.
You can trust me.
You can
I will
host. I'll
take
just
care of
sit here
the
and
show.
coach.
Focus. You are the play-by-play caster for today. Enjoy the cast. Let me handle the rest of the
All
throws,
right.
Kangas.
All
I need you to look at me in the eyes.
Yeah.
You got this.
This
Your
might be my
caster-
second favorite moment I've ever seen between two play-by-plays, because like the last time it was Coco and
it's
Cubby,
tough.
and neither of them play-by-played the fight because they were co-casting as two color casters, and Coco just looks after it and says, "That's where you're supposed to talk."
It happens. You know,
It
Kangas,
happens,
I
it happens.
understand. You've got the habit, but let me take care of it.
Calm down.
Okay.
You're with me
Upper
now.
bracket
You're in good
graphic.
hands.
We're
Yeah,
showing it
I'm
again.
in easy mode today.
Because we do need to recap that yesterday it was quite the battle between Team Liquid Academy and Golden Guardians Academy, but overall Team Liquid Academy prevailed. They punched their ticket to the grand finals, which we will see next Friday on the LCS stage to cement the overall Proving Grounds experience. But we continue now into the lower bracket where it's all remaining best of fives. And today it is going to be Immortals Academy taking on FlyQuest Academy. The winner of that matchup will take on C9 Academy and 100 Thieves Academy, which plays out tomorrow. And then the winner of those will take on Golden Guardians Academy next week to go back to the grand finals. It is a very long and very dangerous road for all these teams, but it's one that only the best team will be able to endure as they make their way to the grand finals. And make sure, if you want to tune in and catch all that action, you tune in and follow our Twitter and our socials at hashtag Proving Grounds 2022 and at Path to LCS. I think I got that part, Kingus. You correct me if I'm wrong.
10 out of 10, Mark.
Checked
Congratulations.
all the
Or, sorry,
boxes,
Kappa.
just like Team Liquid yesterday.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Okay. Just making sure I'm checking off my notes here. Let's see. Next
Just what
on
Kangas says
your
next.
job.
See, it's not as easy as it looks. You have to follow a run of show. You have to direct people.
You know what? Good thing I have that pulled up. It was just hidden under my
Mustache?
Kangas Tendencies tab.
Oh yeah, the ha last. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Transition to series. I got that. Well, it is Immortals Academy taking on FlyQuest Academy, and there's quite a few things to dive into for both of these teams. The thing that kind of surprised us the most is how both of these teams got here in the first place, Josh.
Yeah, these are a couple of teams that are the world where they both end up playing each other in this round is not the world I expected to be living in, but that is exactly what happened after some crazy comebacks from FlyQuest, after some big upsets from Immortals. They find themselves down here in the lower bracket. They still made top 6, but I feel like both these teams were really gunning for something higher, and one of them is going to be going home.
And the crazy thing is the journey from both of them. Immortals Academy have been finding upsets. They actually were the first team to upset CLG Academy. That was the big story we had from them. They had a close series against Golden Guardians Academy, who was also seated above them in the standings. Whereas FlyQuest, they got knocked out early from the upper bracket from Team Liquid Academy, and then have just been kind of grinding their way through the lower bracket. EGP, Dignitas, a pretty close series where they almost lost that one. They were defending their Nexus in game 2 and then reverse swept their way through that best of 3. So FlyQuest have been kind of struggling in the lower bracket to make it to this point, whereas Immortals in general have had a very impressive run.
It's definitely been a turnout that we were not expecting at, here on the broadcast crew. But as we're taking a look at our Immortals roster here, I want to go back to you, Kangas, because you got a chance to witness firsthand how that Golden Guardians Immortals Academy series turned out.
Yeah, so the Golden Guardians Immortals series, Immortals Academy are a strong team. They find early leads, but the biggest weakness that we've seen from this team, from players like Chad, from players like Wild Turtle, who's actually down in Academy right now because of the Arrow substitute in LCS, getting picked constantly in side lanes, and Golden Guardians were a team that was fully able to capitalize on it. So when we're thinking about Immortals Academy in their current form, I'm looking at the individual players of Chad, of Wild Turtle. Play a little safer, play a little more respectful for your opponents. And even Concept was getting caught out a couple times towards the end of that series too. So just, make sure that you're playing respectful for your opponent and use those early game leads to get victories. Because you have like a 3,000 gold lead on your Tristana alone, you'd expect to be able to win that game.
Right? The difficulty for this squad has been being able to close out games consistently and reliably, even with these monstrous early game leads. But I am definitely in the same boat as you, Kangas. I'm looking to Chad and Wild Turtle to make those adaptations, as they are the ones that are usually garnering those leads in the first place. But when we look at across the rift and their opponents, it is FlyQuest Academy. And Joshi, I know you've been not so low-key a FlyQuest stand, especially for Philip, but I know that when we look to how FlyQuest got here, surprising Dignitas, it was thanks to Spyrax.
Yeah, and, I had a chance to talk with Yuji earlier today, with Philip earlier today, and even he was like, yeah, sometimes I just end off my ass, just totally losing the top lane. We saw a little bit of that yesterday, but they were still able to bring it back towards the end, and a huge part of that, as you said, was Spyrex, one of our collegiate stars, just like Niles and Iconic on other teams, have had an opportunity to showcase what they really want to do, and I feel like Spyrex has had a huge glow up as well over the course of the year, doing his best Darkwing's impression against Darkwing Duck himself.
Yeah, Spyrex's glow up has been insane, and even Diamond echoed that. He was like, sometimes in scrims, Philip just runs it down, and we just saw one of those on a stage game, unfortunately. But Philip still brought it back in that game. He still was able to, equalize a little bit of that KDA towards the end. But it was Spyrex on the Azir with the base defense, and then also the Dragon Steel, the Elder Dragon Steel. And in general, like you had been saying, even in the MVP, Most Valuable Prospect Candidate Award for Yuji that we gave, in the earliest parts of the season, we saw in that clip there an example of them not being on the same page, not finding the same plays, not finding the same engages. But then it was around this time of the season, they're up against CLG, and suddenly they realized, wait a minute, we can just commit together. And then suddenly FlyQuest became this kind of team where we see this consistently from, where everybody's going in and just catching members of the enemy team out of surprise. Like, these engages are insane.
Yeah, to borrow from what Chad said in another interview that I was doing with him, I asked him some questions. He was saying, I feel like Yuji oftentimes just autopilots early on in the game, and we kind of see that across the board from FlyQuest. Their early games aren't generally that strong, but when they get into the mid game with a strong lead, or they're not even just slightly behind, they're really able to convert it. And I feel like Spyrex, the player on our screen, has been one of these big stories of growth for the FlyQuest Academy roster, and we get to see, he finished a top team with Maryville, right? One of the strongest collegiate programs we've ever seen, and now he's just trying to continue that same process.
The cool thing about Spyrex in particular, you not only mentioned it, Josh, he came from Maryville University, which many has heralded as the best of collegiate in the past seasons, but he also made his start towards in the Supernova org, which many consider the heart of the amateur. So you're really getting an awesome representation of both sides of the amateur scene before you get to the academy spot for Spyrex. And
I love
in
when
the
they
beginning,
got all three. A player with like amateur, collegiate, and academy experience.
Shout out to Cubby for coining that in
view.
the first place.
Yeah.
That is the thing, though. The journey and the growth for FlyQuest has been so damn awesome and impressive to see. But Immortals is no slouch as an opponent, as we're going to be throwing to a quick video hyping up this particular matchup, because this is do or die, lower bracket best of 5. Check it out.
I think my favorite part of playing with the team is like seeing our growth.
Concept trying to find an engage, but FlyQuest are able to push them back. Crescent Guard was used. Pretty looking for another one, but he gets hooked right into FlyQuest. Oh no! Immortals Academy, they now have to be on the run. FlyQuest, they see the 2 sweep in their eyes, and they want it so damn badly.
I talked about that. I was thinking about that. I was like, for the highest of highs, we're the only 4-0 team, and then we go 0-4, and literally the last 2 losses are against the 0-6 team. No claims. We're 0-6.
Immortals Academy are one of the academy teams that I actually think are really consistent. Whether it's like in scrim or on stage, I feel like they always stick to their plans, like from draft.
Even if we don't have the most successful results like in regular season, like you could see that like any team, we can beat any team, and like on the other side we can lose to any team. Yeah, overall like we miss the consistency a little bit, but like I think the dark horse title is fair.
I actually think Pretty is one of the best academy mid laners, because from my experience he's really solid and has a really big champion pool, but bigger than most.
Really fun to be working with a bunch of rookies, and I have a veteran bot lane. I think our veteran bot lane really helps elevate and guide the rookies, and it makes my job as a coach a lot easier.
So I think our big strength as in FlyQuest Academy is clearly our bot lane. Because honestly, having them on the team, kind of, I've said it multiple times, but it kind of feels like a cheat code at times, because they will win their matchup like 80% of games.
Like my whole goal, my purpose is to be the best League of Legends player I can.
Is it weird if I just say I just want to win?
You can see the mutual respect that has been earned by both of these teams for each other over the course of the spring split. And I think it goes to show that, what Pretty has said about both of these teams being dark horses is true in their own right. FlyQuest starting off a little slower than Immortals, whereas Immortals just having mixed results over the entire course of the season here, Genghis.
Yeah, the difference between the two is also when you're spiking, because like Hans was saying, right out the gate, Immortals Academy looked very strong. And then, of course, they were able to, bring back a rough couple of weeks there in the Academy split and at that 50-50 mark right in the middle with wins and losses. But through Proving Grounds, they've really been stepping it up. And around Chad specifically in the jungle role, I mean, here you're going to see a couple of examples from that last series where they're getting caught out and some of the weaknesses. But overall, they still have a lot of strengths and a lot of firepower that they're packing. Chad's had a much better performance throughout Proving Grounds than he had in the regular season. He's dying less, he's participating in more kills, but they still have this tendency here where they just kind of overstep a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like one of the big conversations we had during the middle of the season about Chad was, do you play to Chad or do you play to Arrow? And eventually they kind of figured it out, but when they substituted in Wild Turtle, Chad was one of the first people to say, I feel like I work better with Wild Turtle than I did with Arrow. We're more on the same page. We have the same way that we like to generally play the game. And so it's no longer a question of, do you play for Chad or Arrow? It's how do we play to Chad and Wild Turtle? Because they're trying to do the exact same thing. They make the same mistakes, but they have the same highs.
And we even chatted in one of the interviews post-game that Mizell had with Chad earlier on in the season when Wild Turtle had just subbed in. It was their first week playing with Wild Turtle. He mentioned that it's actually, he finds that it's easier for him to talk when Wild Turtle's on the roster, because Wild Turtle and him will agree on a lot of things. Play aggressive. Hey, we can go here. Hey, we can do this. Whereas when comms were there with Arrow, sometimes Arrow was more the one leading the conversation and leading the discussion of what should be done on the Rift. Whereas with Wild Turtle in, Chad felt like he could talk more and the team would kind of follow him up. With that said, of course, Chad's still very early in his career, and sometimes we see moments like that last series against Golden Guardians where it doesn't work out for him.
Right. Well, the funny thing is, you bring up that interview, Kangas. We actually have that interview right here for the audience to see. So we're going to throw to it real quick so that everyone can know what Chad had to say.
Well, Arrow's great too. They're both really good ADCs, but I'd say it's only been like a week of scrims with Turtle, but for some reason I feel like I mesh really well with him. Obviously, I worked well with Arrow too, but I don't know, something about working with Turtle, it's a different type of energy. He sees the game a little bit differently than everyone else, or like he has more. I don't know. I just really enjoy playing with him, and I think we're going to perform really well.
I like it. Yeah, it's always interesting to see the difference when players come in, and especially a player of the caliber of Wild Turtle, the veterancy coming in. Does he kind of take over shot calling in these kinds of situations? Is it still more or less a group decision?
He definitely talks a lot, but it's weird. I feel like I actually talk more playing with Turtle. Like I remember there, I feel like I don't know. It's like he definitely talks, but like I feel I find it easier for me to talk more, and I feel like I'm able to play my game better, and I play better because of it. So I don't know. It's just different atmosphere.
Okay,
for me,
interesting. So now you guys are at 15-13. Trying to.
You don't always expect to see such a easier change in playstyle when you bring in a new player after having already gelled and being a squad for so long for the first few weeks of the split. But as Chad remarked, he was glowing, talking about working with Wild Turtle. It seemed like they were always in the mindset together. And when you look at Chad in particular here, Josh, it's that Chad wants to be the super aggressive jungler. He wants to be able to push forward and take control of the game by his own hand.
Yeah, and my favorite part about Chad, other than the fact that he's got an awesome name, both his real name and his in-game name, but he also won last Proving Grounds, right? We can't discount that. He is one of our players who is still around from that roster for 100 Thieves Academy that won the Proving Grounds after substituting in for Kenvi. He had big shoes to fill. He filled them, and he's looking to do the exact same thing right now. And so he feels in many ways that this entire series going up against Immortals is basically just going to be another stepping stone on his way.
Yeah, the eyes of his family are on him. Eyes of the fans are on him. Our eyes are on him. Chad's got a lot to live up to based on his previous achievements. And now into the best of fives. This is his chance to prove it.
Carrying that legacy that he earned with 100 Thieves Academy in Proving Grounds last summer, now onto Immortals Academy. And when he's looking at a particular matchup across from in the Rift, it is Yuji. It is that honorable mention for most valuable prospect we just discussed. And when looking at both of these junglers, you know, Chad has always been tried to be an aggressive jungler throughout the split. Yuji, it took a while for him to get there, but now he's been able to match him on similar forward percentages, as we should have a graphic for that so that the rest of you all can see here, Josh.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what these guys are going to be doing up against each other, because it is one of these relatively rookie junglers that we're seeing. And, you know, as we see the total forward percentage, notice they are tied, and it's not even that far behind XU, who we know is this crazy aggressive jungler who loves going for all these ganks. Yuji, over the course of the season, was so low at the beginning that it had to have been way above in order to catch up to where everybody else was. That's how stats work. You got to get above if you're trying to bring up your average. So realistically, if you were to only take the past couple of weeks for Yuji, you would have to know that it's probably getting close to 30%.
Even just a quarter of your time spent in the enemy side of the Rift is insane. Of course, jugglers will be doing that more often, but we know that these are two players that like to invade. Also, keep in mind, two players that like to play through their bot lanes and help enable players like Wild Turtle, players like Tomo. So I'm curious how that's going to impact the matchup as well, because when I think about the win conditions for each of these teams, I kind of see them having similar win conditions.
I imagine so as well. When you look at Chad, how he is pretty much wanting to play through Wild Turtle nowadays and how he enjoys working with him and having the same mindset. You look at Yuji, a lot of the ganks that he had been able to find success was through that experienced bot lane, getting Tomo and Diamond out of lane so that they can go and cause chaos on the rest of the Rift. But speaking of chaos on the Rift, it is time for the best of 5 to go down. Remember, the loser of this series is knocked out, and the winner advances on in our proving ground. So, Kangas, take it away.
Thank you, Rafa, for handing it off to me. My first time on the broadcast as a scheduled play-by-play. I tried to fill out on Monday, and then the Cash Cabana got hit with some internet issues, so we weren't able to keep it going. But Joshi, it's all about our show now. You look at dapper, man. We got the inverted clothing. We're ready for some cash.
It was a plan. It was all a plan. And I'm really excited to see these two teams, right? We got a lot of rookies coming through. Concept, Chad, Philip, Yuji, Spyrex are all realistically in their first Academy split. I would say Pretty too, but, you know, he hasn't won, but he's gone to 3 EU Masters, which is basically the equivalent of the European Proving Grounds. And you know, he's placed at all of their main events. So, you know, he's pretty good already. We know him as a very strong player in the mid lane, just as Spyrex was saying, incredibly consistent.
And a reminder on players like Pretty, who was around in Academy last year as well, chatting with him. A lot of players, when they come from other regions, Oceanic players, anybody from any of the other minor regions, they oftentimes say, look, my goal is to play in Academy, show that I'm better than Academy players in NA, and then get promoted on. And Pretty's still chasing for that opportunity. A big performance here would be a strong argument for him. But let's catch up on the draft so far, Joshi, for game number 1. Lucian, Nocturne, Zeri banned out, so a lot of AD carry focus. Junglers as well with Hecarim and then Tryndamere and Tahm Kench. So Jinx first locked in for Immortals.
Yeah, definitely Wild Turtle's most played so far this season. Now, we have to remember that he has played far fewer games in the LCS system than you would in the Academy system. But on the other side of the map, we see a lot of overlap between these two junglers in the actual champions that they like to play. Yuji has played Lee Sin as his most played so far this season, and he's super willing to blind pick it. But as he does that, he's giving Chad his most played this season as well.
Chad's been playing a lot of Hecarim lately in Proving Grounds, but when that's banned away and you leave up Viego, of course he's going to go for it because, like you said, his favorite overall throughout the season. And then Ari for Pretty is also kind of a takeaway from Spyrex, which is one of his favorites. So when we see the first 3 champs locked in for Immortals, we're seeing a heavy focus on, I guess, kind of early control of the mid lane.
Yeah. I mean, so far, the mid lane is going to be a big part, but this is just a lot of people playing their most played champions. This is Wild Turtle's most played. This is Yuji's most played. This is Tomo's most played. This is Chad's most played. The only person who isn't on their most played this season is Pretty, and is only 2 games behind the Orianna that he's played so far throughout this game. And I feel like this is kind of both teams just kind of sussing each other out. Like, what are you going to try and take away from us? What are you not comfortable with? And that's what we often see in these best of 5s, King, is you just start off with, like, it's the first round of a boxing. You got to throw out some jabs and see if they're going to block.
I was going to say, clearly these teams haven't done their scouting well enough if they're leaving everybody's first picks up. But Urgot banned away. That is Concept's favorite champion as of right now, so that's not on the table, especially he likes to play that into the Camille, which is important to highlight that Philip will be piloting. And then the Renata Glass banned away from Joey, who he's been piloting a lot as well. When I see Camille locked in, immediately I start thinking that she can have a big impact in how the game's played out.
Oh, for sure. And there's not a lot of the counter picks that Concept really plays, right? He's got the most unusual champion pool of basically every player that we have in Academy. His most played being Urgot, Wukong, and Dark to Mundo, and none of them are super exciting to play into the Camille, but it is continuing to go down a lot of our most played champions, as it is going to be Spyrax on the Victor, which he has found so much success on in the regular season.
A little more scaling out for FlyQuest with the Victor and a FLYA combo, trying to match some of that Jinx late game damage. And then the Lee Sin try to kind of be that bridge in the early game to get them through to that scaling. And the answer from Immortals, they're going for the Jax for Concept. That is exciting.
That is very cool. That's something he hasn't played so far, at least according to my notes. And we're getting the Blitzcrank too.
Oh!
Kangas, we're starting off this series with a banger. I thought it was going to be the most boring draft I ever saw. It's like, yeah, we're just playing their most played. But finally, at the end, we get Concept on the Jags, a very good matchup into the Camille, and of course, Diamond on the Blitzcrank. He only ever counterpicks this, but he's won 75% of his games.
I was going to say, this is a Diamond special. If you're a fan of Academy over a long time, Diamond, when he was on Cloud9, this is something he would crack out. I'm sure Magical, if he's watching right now, is freaking out. Like, we got it back. But
His
then
skirts
also
are just all over the place, man.
the takeaway of the Thresh, which Diamond has been playing a lot of lately, also pairs well with the Jinx. That's really the only shielding I'm seeing that the Blitzcrank can break. But I mean, hey, everyone's pretty squishy. If you land one hook, boom, suddenly you can just win the team fight from there.
For sure. And whenever we see champions like this in drafts like these, we have to ask ourselves, King, is which players have agency in the game? Now, obviously, the Blitzcrank's got a ton of agency. He pulls somebody and basically win the fight. But the other players we're really looking at are Philip and Yuji, some of the rookies coming through for FlyQuest, and then Pretty for Immortals. All these players are the ones who have the go buttons, who have ways to look for interesting flanks and the ability to hit the targets that they want. So those are the players we're going to have to pay a lot of attention to on how well they're able to navigate these geography and terrain.
And again, Phillips kind of glow up as well this split. I know you were a fan of him even last year in the summer. You saw a lot of potential from him. Not everyone agreed necessarily when he would come up in conversations, but this split, we've seen FlyQuest willing to play through him. When I see Camille locked in, this is not like a, all right, well, you're playing the tank, you're on tank duty, or even like when he would go into the Aatrox, which still can show up in team fights. You have to get some resources, as is Camille, and that means the team has to somewhat play around you. I like that FlyQuest are showing their willingness to play through topside.
And it's definitely going to be one of these things that we'll see if it continues throughout the series. It's game one, so as we said, they're kind of testing the waters. Put one toe in, see what actually comes out, if there's anything that's going to be biting you.
How cold is it?
Yeah, exactly. And so as we get into our first game, remember both of these teams are up against the wall. This best of 5 determines if you go on to play the rest of Proving Grounds or if you go home.
The weight of a season, the weight of elimination in a best of 5 is weighing heavily on the shoulders of all 10 players on the Rift. And how do you perform when the stress is high? Immortals on the blue side, FlyQuest Academy on the red. We are into game number 1.
So, Kingus, well, we have a little bit of time before things happen as Chad just kind of pokes around. And this is this is actually something, this is a good point. Chad called out earlier this season when he went for an invade. Lee Sin can't counter ward that. Right? He needs the ward for the W movement later on, and he was able to use that to get this huge invade on Tomio early in the season. So I don't expect it to come through, and something to keep in mind. That's the thing that Chad pays attention to and something he's going to be looking to do. But before we look at that, I want to talk about the history of these two teams. King is their record during the regular season, 3-1 in favor of FlyQuest. They won 2-0 in week 2. They went 1-1 in week 5. But both of those series were when Immortals were playing with Arrow.
And now it's a different team. Wild Turtle plays very differently from Arrow, and Immortals Academy look different when they're playing with Wild Turtle. Again, the big conversation point that we had at the top of the day was Wild Turtle, he can get leads, but he plays so aggressive that sometimes it just comes back and bites him.
Yeah, he's very willing to give up a lot of these side waves in order to move towards the fight. He's very aggressive. He's one of the one of the players that is more willing to flash forward than any other AD carry in the league. And he gets a lot of good early laning advantage because a lot of our AD carries aren't used to it. He was actually more dominant in his games in terms of CSD at 15 than Stixay, who blew apart this week.
But I don't expect necessarily that to be the story on the Jinx, although it is still Wild Turtle, so you never know. Maybe he still will go for it on the Jinx. But this time around, I expect a more casual and calm bot lane from Immortals Academy. Maybe mid lane, where we could look to see the action, because Ari can't always look for those picks, but losing the trade against Spyrax.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how these two players go up against each other because they are very comfortable on these champions. This is a very common play, but Chad is right here on the sides.
Pyrex should know this, should be aware of the timing windows, and it looks like we might just get a flash trade. No, Spyrex holding his. No charm from Pretty.
Oh, he's only level 2!
Yeah, Spyrex actually survives that, but does have to flash.
Yeah. Okay, so trading a flash is totally fine, but I sat there asking where's the charm. Pretty was 1 minion away, and I think that was mostly Chad saying, I can't afford to not be farming here. I actually need to go for this gank right now, but that just means the same play becomes way easier in a couple of minutes when he comes back and there's no flash on the Victor.
Exactly, that's the thing, because Ahri, quite mobile, even once you hit level 6. Oh, that charm misses. But once you hit level 6 especially, you can get aggressive, or with your own flash, you can look to flash forward and land that charm. So Chad could look for the re-engage, but because of that time spent, we do see Yuji getting a slight farm advantage in the jungle.
Yeah, well, I mean, this could be one of those things that Chad was talking about. Yuji oftentimes looks for some of these early plays, but other times, as Chad says, it feels like he's kind of autopiloting. And that's one of the things that we need to see him avoid. Autopilot is the enemy. We haven't seen him go for anything, and in fact, he's giving up the top side scuttle. So our question is going to be, is Yuji going to try and find an advantage, or does he trust his lanes to just find them on his own?
Concept is constantly going for this trade pattern. I love to see this counter pick actually finding a health bar lead over Phil, but hasn't amounted to any massive CS differential, but we'll keep track of that. But going back to your point about Yuji, the story around him at the beginning of the split was superstar solo queue jungler. Oftentimes in solo queue environments, you got to get your own lead, not as much about the team play. And even still at this level, sometimes we will see Yuji kind of go back to this default, just full clear, look to get myself ahead.
Yeah, and oh, Chad coming back mid lane, flash!
There's that flash charm, exactly set up by Pretty. The chain CC, Spyrax goes down, and first blood to Chad.
I absolutely love the fact that they recognize we just got to go for a repeat gank. That's all we really need to do, and Pretty says there's no flash on this guy, so let's clean up what we tried to get earlier on. FlyQuest toying with the idea of a potential dive here, but it feels really dangerous at this point in the game.
You don't necessarily have to dive with a Blitzcrank, though, because if he lands a hook onto somebody, that could be a kill, but Chad will spot this out. They now know that Yuji's here. See Diamond even on the ward, and the death sentence goes onto Diamond. Wild Turtle's in a really safe position over the wall, throws out the choppers. Yuji could be in trouble here. Chad's looking for it. No one goes down yet. Flash out of Yuji.
Lots of flashes traded there, right? Joey trades his for Yuji's, but it ends up being a whole lot of nothing. And we are seeing there's a very quick movement coming through from FlyQuest. It looks like they are starting to recognize, like, okay, we can't just let things happen to us. We need to actually do things ourselves. And the interesting thing to me, though, is that it feels like while Yuji's playing towards his veteran bottom lane, his relatively rookie top lane is doing great.
The hook! Chad's in trouble. He doesn't have flash from earlier because of the trade in the mid lane, and Yuji with the backup of Diamond actually give the kill over to Spyrax. That might just save this mid lane.
That's pretty good, right? You get the Victor ahead. I love what we're seeing. The playing towards the veteran bot lane and bringing the rookies in for the same kind of reward. We're back to an even game, Kangas.
I mean, even game essentially from the gold perspective and the kill perspective, but I'm actually looking at the next objective. This dragon could be the focus. Look at how many wards FlyQuest were able to get down while they were going for these invades. That is 4 wards in Immortals Academy bottom jungle. That gives them a lot of control to work with. Oh, Joey even walked past the control ward. I don't think he saw it. He didn't clear it out.
It's a bit rough right there, but 4 wards let you go forward, and this is the kind of thing that FlyQuest can look to do, but they're not necessarily known for all this early game play. I'm not sure if Yuji would be willing to just go for it out of nowhere. You see he's actually pathing towards the top side, so FlyQuest provide themselves a lot of safety, but not necessarily getting more than that. We're also seeing it's a very lopsided side lanes, right? Tomo and Diamond are pushing around Turtle and Joey. They're up about 2.5 waves at this point, but the same thing is true of Concept over Philip, and this counter pick is paying dividends.
Exactly. There was a small window there where Philip had teleported back into lane, had Hextech Ultimatum. I thought, does he go for the all-in with Ignite taken as your summoner spell? But as we saw in the minimap, Concept was able to get it back off. Now teleported into lane with double daggers and the Vampiric Scepter. This top lane will go even better for Immortals Academy going forward. And still, we've really yet to see Yuji accomplish much in the jungle position.
Yeah, I mean, he is technically ahead in CS, but that's not something to really write home about when you're going back. It's like, look, Mom, I'm up a camp. But the player that I kind of want to take a look at is Philip, right? You know, obviously I'm an unabashed Philip stan. He's one of my favorite players. I thought I had very high hopes. I have my t-shirt, right? He's got the little frog on it. when I asked him earlier about how he feels like his improvement has gone throughout the season, I think he and I are in agreement. We both had a lot higher hopes for this player at the beginning, and as we see him go for a lot of these limit tests, you're starting to see much more activity from him in the mid game, like we initially saw. But the ability for him to play this lanes is still kind of struggling.
Oh, but Concept is, yeah, just with this counter pick, absolutely smacking him around. So a lead in the top lane for Immortals Academy. It's what's expected when you get this counter pick in that top lane position. But we do still see as Yuji looks to maybe get in Chad's face, but that's level 6 Viego, so you got to walk away. At least the bottom lane is going heavily in FlyQuest Academy's favor. Tomo has amassed a pretty sizable CS advantage, and now FlyQuest will start up the Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, the other counter pick, right? The Jax and Camille is a good matchup, but the Blitzcrank into the Thresh is also a fantastic one. It's giving them enough priority for Tomo to walk up, get the auto attacks down, and allow FlyQuest to secure the objective. And what we were looking at yesterday is between Team Liquid and Golden. Oh, we'll get back to that.
Looks like there was a hook onto Joey right there. Ultimate misses from Tomo. Doesn't still do a lot of damage to Joey. That would have been a kill, though, if Joey hadn't sidestepped that. So well done from Immortals Academy support.
Good, yeah, exactly. Good sidestep coming through from Joey. But the thing that we were looking at yesterday was the incredible setup that Team Liquid was having. And neither of these teams have necessarily contested Team Liquid for that. But this is a situation where they're playing up against each other, not playing against Team Liquid. And they have to show that they can get these setups for the objectives. Immortals are here first, but are they here in force?
They have their Jax as well. Pretty goes in for a charm. Lays out to Yuji. And now Chad following up with the Heartbreaker for the execute. 2 kills on the board for Immortals Academy jungler.
Remember we were saying about who had agency in this game? The person that we looked at for Immortals was Pretty, and that's the second time he goes in, dashes in, and finds a charm onto the important targets. And once you're able to do that, this Ahri is already starting to accelerate. Pretty's Ahri, we know, has had a fantastic season, and he's making use of the mobility in his kit in order to find these advantages.
Ahri here, as we look at the replay, has a really slick avenue in here. And FlyQuest Academy just didn't have enough control over that part of the jungle. It's very dangerous to go face check an Ahri who has charm. And the thing is, even though Pretty's the one setting up some of these plays, Chad's the one getting the kills. So this Viego is actually very ahead.
Chad and Turtle.
Oh no, Philip.
Oh.
Doesn't have flash. Keep that in mind. If he gets stunned here, has the hook shot, but Chad just chains the CC. Oh, Philip, he gets out! Chad did not predict over onto the hook shot. He tried to interrupt it, but Philip, really good job there to get away.
Yeah, good use of mechanics on the Camille, but it's still a situation where he is in kind of dire straits, as he's really hurting in this matchup, and it doesn't really get that much better as time goes on. You still have to play around the Counter-Strike in the same way. You still have to get away from the dodges, but it feels like the rest of his team is in a spot where they might be able to step forward. Tomo is one of these players that can always look to gale force forward and really put Turtle in uncomfortable positions, and so far, as we keep alluding to, he's got the tools to do it. He's up 30 CS at only 10.5 minutes.
It's a lot of CS. Hasn't actually back to pick up a full completed item yet, but what item is completed is still Chad on this Viego. I don't expect any big team fights for a while. Maybe the next Dragon we would see Immortals Academy look to try and contest that because of Birdie and Chad's advantage. But it seems like in terms of the bottom lane, yeah, it is just coming down to a straight up CS war, which, like you said, Tomo is winning.
Yeah. But that's an interesting thing you said, right? We're not necessarily expecting a whole lot of team fights, and so it's going to be very chaotic, but Diamond,
maybe
sneaky.
Maybe picks. Immortals, they're trying to clear out the control ward. That's a defensive Heartbreaker by Chad, giving respect to that Blitzcrank hook range.
Yeah, and Spirit Rush as well. So Diamond just being here, forcing a lot of mobility coming out from Immortals. But, you know, I kind of want to look at how we're expecting these team fights to go between these two teams, because generally, I think of both of these rosters as a little bit more chaotic, right? They thrive when the front lines and back lines are all mixed up, when people are all over the place, and Diamond can look for these hooks, and Wild Turtle stayed all by himself.
Yeah, the classic Turtle move from Immortals Academy. He finds himself in these positions often. Sometimes he can outplay them, and he has summoner spells. How's he going to look to do it right now? They have the wave under turret. Diamond will approach. Now it's actually Tomo that starts tanking it up, and then walks away, beautifully dove. Can Immortals answer in the top lane? Philip, again, has the Hextech ultimatum. He's going to have to use it here if he wants to stay alive, but he's juggling around the turret beautifully. Concept's tanking it up, but he survives, and that is a successful dive top lane for Immortals.
2 clean dives on opposite sides of the map. I feel like that's the story of this game. Tomo has Wild Turtle's number, but Concept has Phillips.
And the hook lands as well. Death sentence on the Spyrax. Freddy should have the damage. The Ignite and Auto from Joey will actually get the kill. Wild Turtle almost sniped that with the Super Mega Death Rocket. But when it comes to the turret race, bot lane fell first. Yuji's up here. The Herald's going in, but Yuji has the damage to just assassinate. Now in a 1v2. He's going for concept! Yuji with the 1v2 double kill!
That's the solo Q star coming into Academy right now. Yuji finding the 1v2 and he plays that so well. Just making sure that he stays alive, navigating everything. And I feel like everything we did to set up this player is paying off because he's just every single place on the map. He's been part of every single kill that FlyQuest have had so far. And this battle of the junglers is really living up. 3 kills for Yuji, 3 kills for Chad, and now we might finally get to see them go head-to-head around the Dragon. But
look at this. He's 2 levels down on Chad. He's 3 levels down on Concept. Who goes for this play?
Yuji
What kind of psychopath actually pulls this off?
yeah, and my favorite part of that was he hit the kick and he didn't instantly Q like most Lee Sins would do. He sees that there's the minion in the way and he knows if he hits the Q onto the minion, he's dead. And he takes the extra half second to walk to the right and then throw out the Q, making sure there's no way for Concept to win that. But Pretty is doing his own.
We got another play down here. Yeah, Pretty finds out Spyrax using the Spear Rush, but Yuji's here. You gotta watch out. Heartbreaker finds the execute. Now Chad 1v1 in Yuji here while the rest of the team's coming in as reinforcements. Diamond flashing forward with the pullback. Chad goes down. Yuji with another kill.
4-1. Both junglers with 4 kills still Kangas, but this is the kind of payoff we were expecting to see. And now FlyQuest going to find themselves a second dragon. Who needs dragon setups when you can just go kill the enemy and they can't do anything about it? But they're trading it for an entire top lane turret. While all this is happening, Concept continuing to get a big lead over Philip. He gets 2 kills worth of gold off of this turret. He is monstrously accelerated. And while FlyQuest look at the kill score and say, you know, we're in a pretty decent spot so far. Yuji's very strong. They are down 2,000 and Concept has all of it.
Yeah, Yuji's getting fed, but as we take a look at the replay here, you can also see still that minimap Jax pushing in. Well played from FlyQuest to be able to rotate down here so quickly and still try and equalize this play.
I'm, again, really impressed with the way that FlyQuest's bottom lane is moving. Diamond is knowing that he doesn't need to throw out the hooks. He can just walk up and hit people, get the knock up so that you have guaranteed crowd control instead of allowing your opponents to outplay it. And it's one of the things that we're going to have to pay attention to. Diamond, one of the most veteran players in this game outside of, you know, the obvious Wild Turtle, is going to be looking for these opportunities to find hooks later on, and his presence of mind, his ability to play around everybody else has been what has allowed him to win so many of these Blitzcrank games.
Exactly, just like we saw earlier, his presence gets ultimates out of the enemy champions. But FlyQuest need more than just a Blitzcrank. They need to make sure that they stay in this game because they are falling behind, and Immortals are looking for another play up here. Not quite long enough. Spyrax does have the slow, and now does FlyQuest Academy actually look to re-engage this? Diamond is walking around here into the enemy jungle. Yuji just trying to bait, though. That's a teleport coming in as well. Watch Wild Turtle, he's all alone. FlyQuest Academy are actually coming down here. Concept goes in onto Spyrax. That's one picked up, and a Wild Turtle. Why are you there? Completely isolated from the rest of the team. Has to flash and heal, but he survives. Immortals Academy can continue the chase onto FlyQuest. Diamond all alone. That's going to be teleport out of Philip, but Diamond's already down. It's disaster for FlyQuest Academy as Philip teleports in, and the fight's already done. FlyQuest Academy lose 2 for nothing.
It just feels like both of these teams are taking turns catching each other out, right? There's none of the team fights like you were calling for. There's just these skirmishes back and forth. Who has more members in the spot? Who can land the first crucial crowd control? And so far, Immortals are doing a little bit better job. Concept teleport coming out first. They're communicating better. And we have to take a look at this because it feels like FlyQuest have more members here. And if they had immediately teleported Philip, maybe this is a fight that they win. But they choose not to. They just let Concept come in, and by giving up Spyrax, the rest of the fight looks hopeless. The only thing that gives them an opportunity back is Wild Turtle overextending a little bit. He knows his limits and gets out.
Ooh, but as we go back to live here, already Yuji in a 1v1 against Pretty, lands another Sonic Wave. Pretty's dancing around this with the Spirit Rush. They'll both shake hands, walk away with half health bars. The thing about FlyQuest, again, those kinds of plays still feel like how FlyQuest plays. They'll go for these aggressive forward positions, but then when it starts to turn around, they quickly run back, but you realize, unfortunately, Victor can't really do that. Once Victor's up there, you have to fight. He's not getting out. So if FlyQuest go for something like that again, I think he's commit, like you said, teleport Philip in.
Yeah. And I think that's part of why we see... Oh,
Okay.
okay.
The Moonlight Vigil goes down. Tomo with a lot of damage on a Wild Turtle. Doesn't quite get the execute damage, but he knew Wild Turtle didn't have subs. He looked for it.
Yeah, that was the exact same play he tried to make onto Joey earlier, but IMT just barely ahead of the curve, making sure they dodged the last bit of damage, and if Tomo hits that Q, that should have been a dead turtle. But I feel like this kind of style is, as you said, very chaotic, very aggressive coming through from FlyQuest. It's why I think they went 2-1 against Dignitas in their most recent match, right? It was this big opportunity for them to just go and swing for the fences on both sides, and you know, Spyrax, despite the fact that he's currently 1-4, he's maintaining his gold. He's still a victor. He's going to be really relevant later on. And we know how well he can step up when his team needs it.
And again, best of 5 scenario. Now, this is both of these teams' first best of 5 of the tournament. Elimination is on the line. So the questions going into it was, who do they trust to carry? Who do they trust to actually win them the games? As of right now for FlyQuest Academy, it's definitely Yuji and Tomo leading that charge, but you're right, Spyrax not too far behind. When we look over to Immortals Academy, it's Chad, and the matchup of these junglers will be pretty definitive to see how does the rest of this game go.
Yeah. FlyQuest, though, are setting up. They're a little bit early, but the longer two teams dance around each other, the better the Blitzcrank becomes, because he just has more opportunities to throw hooks, but he's the one getting hooked.
Who's hooking who? Yeah, exactly. Joey lands the death sentence. Oh!
Yeah, that's what
Forces
happens.
flash out of Chad, though.
Yeah, just here early, but pretty once again on a flank. FlyQuest are in control of the choke point, but they're looking for Concept.
Oh, Phil! What a catch here onto Concept, dodging out on the turtle, or the helicopter. And it actually gets the kill there. But, hey, Herald drop mid lane here from Immortals Academy. Another Moonlight Vigil onto Chad. Big damage from FlyQuest Academy. They're chasing Immortals away.
Yeah, FlyQuest, I mean, we've been seeing Tomo go for that quite a bit. He's just kind of throwing up the ults and seeing what happens. But the rest of FlyQuest, they still find themselves in a strong position. They're going to be finding a third dragon, putting themselves on dragon. Okay, almost jinxed it, on dragon soul point, right? But the big question is it going to be enough? We know that Immortals have a lot of agency still, and look at, this is so cheeky.
Such a far forward death brush. If Diamond walks up here, oh, he's going mid? Okay, so it's
They're
just
not
wasted
even
time for
losing.
Immortals Academy. But yeah, they don't lose much on the map for this. They're going for Spyrax. Look at how close he is to his own base. It's just doesn't fair, but Spyrax with the outplays. Massive damage onto Pretty. Teleport's coming in. Philip looking for it onto Pretty. Gets the kill. Chad trying to chase down. Joey will commit the flash just to get the kill. But Concept now focused by Tomo, who's got the guns for the fight. FlyQuest Academy, they answer back, and they actually trade up 1 for 2.
Okay, Philip.
That sentence lands onto Tomo, but no one's taking that
Right.
one. Now Yuji going forward, lands a Sonic Wave. Doesn't look for the inside play, but just kicks away Joey instead. Shut down over to Diamond, and now a 3-for-1 trade. FlyQuest Academy, one more. Wild Turtle still doesn't have
There's
flash.
no breaks.
No summoners. He's taking the damage. Tomo with the kill credit, and Chad, the only remaining member, has run all the way back to Tier 2 turret.
There's no brakes on this train. Everybody aboard the FlyQuest train, they just keep on going. They thought there was a pick there onto Spyrax, but even though he goes down, he stays alive for so long. And now Immortals, I said they weren't even behind when they went for that play. You don't normally see these death brushes, but they thought that they could just find a cheeky kill, and I feel like that is the most Chad thing, the most Wild Turtle we could have possibly imagined. But again, credit to Spyrax for keeping himself alive and allowing the rest of the team to collapse.
They definitely didn't expect the damage coming in from Spyrax there. And you could almost see the hesitation after they take that first hit. It's like, oh, he almost just one-shot us. Do we actually have this? And they're like, well, once you're in that position, you have to commit to the chase down. But FlyQuest Academy so good on the response. I'm actually surprised that Yuji didn't go for the insect play onto Wild Turtle. But still, they get him at the end of the day, and they pull off that play. Again, FlyQuest Academy just so quick to answer the plays of Immortals Academy throughout the entire game.
Exactly. So now, as we are starting to see the ebb and flow go back in the nature of FlyQuest, you know, this might be their C quest coming through here. We have to know what Immortal still has, because this game seems to be pretty even. The biggest deciding factor is the 3 dragons, but Concept is still huge. He's got 60 farm up. We still see that Chad has 5 kills, and Pretty is farming well and is also being a big part of the way that Immortals have been looking for all these plays. He's done a fantastic job looking for all of these charms. And FlyQuest, doesn't have great face checkers, right? Even the melee champions that we see can get blown up incredibly quickly by Immortals composition.
So let's see how they look to approach this side. Diamond misses the hook. That sentence lands onto Yuji, but Pretty's looking at Tomo instead. He does not win that trade. Now Philip comes in here with a Hex Cultivator right onto Pretty. Spyrax with another kill. And FlyQuest Academy with the stronger pincer maneuver. Philip just flies in there and finds the kill for him.
After the dive, he hasn't died again, right? He's just always here looking for these flanks, and that's one of the things that Philip does really well, almost like Jenkins, right? The player for Team Liquid last year who's now playing in LCS. I feel like Philip wasn't necessarily the best laner. Jenkins wasn't the greatest laner either. He was very consistent, but Philip, just like Jenkins, was always looking for these ways to get fights started later, and he's just flying in, finding these engagements for the rest of his team, and it means that this Camille is going to scale and it's going to be relevant later on.
The setup that I had at the beginning of the game is when you see Camille locked in, I expect the team to play through that Camille somewhat. Not the case for FlyQuest Academy. They said, Philip, you're on an island. Just try to survive Concept and Chad. Good luck. And he said, don't worry, I got this. I'm going to ace this test. I've been studying, everybody. I stayed up extra late just to make sure I knew exactly how to accomplish this one. Well done to Philip. And now Immortals Academy find themselves in an awkward position. They have to go for this dragon fight.
Yeah, FlyQuest do still have Spyrax off on the side, and Immortals are here really early. Remember what we said, if you line up too early, you get split cranky, just gets more and more time to look for these hooks, but you also get more time for Pretty to look for flanks.
Pretty could look at Tomo. Right now, he goes in, misses the charm because of the Gale Force, but now everybody's dogpiling onto the Aphelios! Shut down for Chad, who now takes over that Aphelios. Another kill onto Diamond. This one picked up by Wild Turtle, and now they're catching out multiple members. The dominoes are falling for FlyQuest Academy. Immortals Academy with the reset are looking for even more. Wild Turtle survives, and look what's up. It's Baron time.
This setup coming out from Immortals was so good. They knew that they just needed to push the members of FlyQuest around. They knew that they could wait for these teleports to come through. And just the way that Tomo was able to stay alive for as long as he was a credit to him just being ready to dodge out anything that came his way. But there's only so much you can do against the competition from Immortals before they all get on top of you. And once the Aphelios is down, there's not enough damage. Again, we can criticize him for it. Philip not teleporting in, forcing his team to play a man down once again, meaning that FlyQuest are going to be giving up the Baron and their chance for the Infernal Soul.
As we come to live, Immortals Academy were so quick on that. FlyQuest are back on the map, but it's too late. Even Immortals Academy can take away some of their jungle camps before going for the reset. It is bold. Oh, I like that call from Diamond. He's just trying to hook away the red buff, trying to keep them around. Phillips going in to play from Joey. Hextech ultimate him in. Now he's locked down. This might have been an overstep from the Camille. Will pick up a kill, but Heartbreaker's back off cooldown for Chad. Now teleported from Concept. Diamond is in trouble. Has to flash over the wall. Concept with the counter strike will land the stun, and Diamond chased down, picked up Immortals Academy. Get 2 more kills traded just for Joey.
Gotta kind of ask, what was that, right? Like, yes, you end up picking up the support, but you end up giving over 2 members while your opponents have a Baron buff. They're still going to be able to move around. They're still going to be able to play with all this power, and you're in a situation where you're waiting for your Camille to be relevant. You don't do that by just throwing it forward and trading it for 2 kills for the other side. This feels like Immortals were just suddenly gifted a huge opportunity to clean up the game. They're up 4,000 gold. They're going to be getting this turret, and the only thing they have to do is now push the rest of the map because every relevant person still has Baron buff.
And who's going to answer Concept in the side lane with Baron? It's not Philip. It probably isn't Spyrax either. They're in a really rough spot, and they don't even have a lot of vision. A lot of deep words from FlyQuest Academy, but they don't see where Immortals are currently. Now they'll spot it out. Phillips goes in.
Going.
I guess the only way out of this game is for FlyQuest to find a play. Diamond doesn't throw out the hook, though, because they're going for Pretty instead. Spyrax gets hit with a charm. Philip looks to go over the wall, doesn't actually commit to it. Immortals Academy, they might just commit themselves. Chad took the blast cone. They're trying to force FlyQuest Academy back, because look at where Concept is. He's got such a massive wave stacked in the mid lane.
Yeah, FlyQuest are trying to find a bit of a miracle team fight there, just get something started while Immortals were separated. But Concept isn't going to need to do anything. He's going to be finding himself a mid lane turret, and his score doesn't say how much gold he has. He's up 70 CS. He's got the inner mid, inner top. He's effectively got 4 extra kills on top of the crazy amount of money he has. He's up 4,000 gold over Philip.
That is insane. This top wave's double stacked too, so Immortals Academy, they can keep the siege down here. Concept can just easily walk up there, have a giant wave to play with, and threaten an inhibitor turret. But Immortals Academy will actually back off. They're not going to utilize that top wave yet. Maybe they're still focused on this mid instead. And again, going back to the narratives that we had set up at the beginning of the game, Chad has gotten this massive lead, has used it to snowball the rest of the team ahead. And since that big double kill play from Yuji, we haven't seen this Lee Sin really step up as much. So in the tail of the junglers, Immortals Academy feeling really good.
Yep. Oh, Joey.
They're just committing right under the turret. Tomo can actually stay alive for quite a while, though. Flashes to safety. FlyQuest Academy are turning the play, and Immortals Academy have overstepped. Wild Turtle can't quite get in, but he does get excited. Picks up another kill. 2-for-2 trade for now. Neither carry is down, but Wild Turtle's half health. Yuji flashing forward, committing for the play with the stopwatch to keep himself alive. Chad will sacrifice his own life to try and save the team, but this could be a wipe for FlyQuest Academy, capitalizing on Immortals Academy's tendency to dive turrets, to overextend in side lanes. Pretty will survive for now. How much more does FlyQuest want this? Yeah, you give this up, but still a 4-for-1, 4-for-2, you'll take that.
Look, we knew both these teams were fighters going in, Kingers. We knew both these teams were going to be looking for plays. This time it's Immortals going a little bit too deep. And props to Spyrax and Tomo in this fight. They find the pocket right, just like you do in football. You look for a spot where you can't get attacked by the enemy offense, and once you're there, it doesn't matter how much damage they're pumping into your front lines, because you are pumping so much back. And once again, Yuji willing to give up everything, willing to die even with the stopwatch to just make sure he gets forward, finds a slow onto everybody else so that his backline can catch up.
FlyQuest Academy have such strong team fighting tools, and they use them well in that fight. Again, it was Immortals Academy with the lead. They had the Baron. They could control the side lanes, but as we come back to live here, we're looking at another Dragon fight. This is soul for FlyQuest Academy.
Yeah, these dragons individually don't mean that much, but Diamond looking to try and find a person onto Wild Turtle, not going to find it. But they have 30 seconds left, and this is Infernal Soul. That's easily worth 4,000 or 5,000 gold if FlyQuest can pick it up.
Look at Pretty's flank, though. FlyQuest Academy haven't spotted him yet. They should see him now. They'll know that they're surrounded. Immortals Academy have a pincer maneuver right now, and they're just jumping straight onto Diamond. Everybody on the Blitzcrank, but look at Tomo's damage! This Aphelios outputting insane DPS. As FlyQuest still losing their health bars. That's a double kill for Wild Turtle. He's excited. He's got the frontline. Wild Turtle popping off in the fight. And Tomo's got nobody to stand in front of him anymore. Cannot approach. Immortals Academy take the fight.
Yo, the way that Immortals set that up and were able to move FlyQuest into that corridor was insane. We said that Spyrax and Tomo found the pocket earlier, but this time they did the exact same thing. They were from the last people to go down, but they weren't able to hit anybody on the other side, and now Immortals trying to end.
Oh, Concept just commits under the turn. They got Tomo! That's game! Game 1 to Immortals Academy off of a snap team fight decision and a dive under the Nexus turrets. It was back and forward, but Immortals Academy reigns supreme in Game 1.
Is it the cleanest League of Legends? No, but it is incredibly entertaining. Both these teams are here to fight. They pick up Philip there at the very end for the last bit of KDA, and it is crazy watching these two teams just come to blows. King is they are both ready. They both just throw haymakers back and forth, and that's what we're going to be seeing this entire series, because these teams are just ready to go.
It literally played such similar styles on opposite sides of the rift. Both junglers looking for dives, both junglers looking for invades. Yuji with the 1v2 double kill while he's 2 levels down, 3 levels down. Those are some of the highlights, but at the end of the game, what did it all boil down to? Who was willing to just commit for the fight, and how were the teams positioned for that fight? Even though Immortals Academy kind of threw underneath the tier 2 turret in the bottom lane, FlyQuest Academy didn't get enough. There wasn't a Baron. There wasn't the Dragon Soul on the Rift for them to actually take and get a substantial lead. So it's like, all right, I guess we clear our camps, we try and spend our gold. But then it comes down to another fight, and that time Immortals find it.
I'm really impressed, again, with the way that Immortals are actually like manufacturing some of these team fights. As long as they aren't overextending and overreaching for some of these fights, they actually look really, really strong. They are very clearly looking for ways to put FlyQuest in uncomfortable positions. And that is such a different style than a lot of other teams have been playing in Academy, and something that can pay off quite a bit.
And again, going back to what we had set up at the beginning of the day, Chad versus Yuji. Chad coming out ahead in the jungle clear. There was that one, again, oopsie play when the Lee Sin got the double kill, but overall, Chad had such a strong control over the Rift, and even when Wild Turtle was behind, based on Chad's performance in some of those team fights, Wild Turtle could just position pretty freely and still get out insane DPS at the end of the day. We had the double hook champions, but Diamond wasn't finding those late game picks that we necessarily expected him to, despite having all that pressure in the early game.
Yeah.
But Joey was landing the death sentences. It was the Joey death sentence onto Diamond at the very end there that let them get that pick onto the Blitzcrank.
Yeah. The one other thing I want to say about Chad before we go into our break is he feels, and in general, Immortals feel like they should have beaten Golden Guardians. They feel like they should have been in the upper bracket finals that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
They feel, again, that this is just one more step on their way to getting Chad his back-to-back Proving Grounds title. And with a performance like that, it was very volatile. It could have gone either way at different points in the game, but Immortals showing the consistency that pretty oftentimes brings to the game and just eventually finding the last targets that they need to.
Exactly. Immortals Academy, they were up in gold against Golden Guardians in those losses. So I echo that sentiment. From their perspective, hey, it was our game to lose, but this was their game to win. And that they did. 1-0 in the best of 5 series for Immortals Academy. We're going to be sending into a short break before we're back with Kafa for our halftime show. I think that's what he wanted to be called. We'll see you then.